Okay, give me 1 second. I'm just gonna close my door, even though there's gonna be a dog interrupting, as he
The
does.
best kind of interruption.
He's kind of busy right now with his plushie, so I'm just gonna leave his bowl of water outside. If he happens to want to come in for a visit, we will let him. Yes, the best interruption for sure. So today I have a hi Shirley. I actually have a ring light set up or like a stand thingy. So this is gonna be cool for me. First time doing it like this. Hi
Oh,
everyone.
hello.
So excited. Okay, so today's topic. Hi, I missed you. Anyways, today's topic we're gonna be talking about parasites. And I'm just so excited right now. Anyways, yeah, we're pretty much all things parasite, following on to the talk I hosted yesterday on gut health. So we will be exploring more on the immune side of gut health. And if you have any questions, feel free to let us know in the chat. I will take our time. Well, we will take our time to answer them. If I don't have an answer right away for you, I will write it down and I will DM you that answer. Sounds good? All right.
Yeah.
So our talk is going to be about an hour, and there will be highlight reels coming in future weeks, as I've just recently got in touch with a video editor. Yeah. Okay, so let's start off today's talk by doing some introductions. So let's start with you, Kelly.
Okay, so I'm Kelly. I work with color and art therapy, and parasites for me came up into my life for a couple of years actually, and I didn't even know that I was having parasitic infections because no one really told me. And so it was kind of something that I started realizing, like, oh, I think I actually have parasites, you know? And so I went into this really deep investigation about them, and I realized, like, growing up in certain countries of the world as a parasite party, growing up in certain countries of the world, no one talks about it, you know? It's like, ew, no, there's no way that there can be worms living inside my intestines. That's not possible because I live in a really clean country or whatever. And I realized, like, wow, no, we all have them. And like, I learned how to make this peace with it, you know, and I learned that every time I did a parasite cleanse, I felt like a lot of energy would come back to me. And I felt like, wow, actually, why have I not been doing this since I was young? You know, like, all of us should have learned that. And so, yeah, I feel like it's a really integral part of being in balance in our gut, you know?
For sure. Yeah, so my name is Chanel, and my background is in applied holistic nutrition. I work on nutrition not just for your body, but also for your mind and your soul. So I take a all hands on deck kind of approach when it comes to addressing any health issues one may have. And that's just what I do. I make your life better. Honestly, like I make your life better. So before we dive in, I do want to talk about the differences between bacteria and parasites. So not all parasites are bacteria, but bacteria can be parasite. And the main difference lies in, like, parasites need a living host. Most of the time needs a living host to be able to survive. And our gut does have varying amounts of bacteria, good or bad, yeast, which can also be good or bad, and parasites. So according to the CDC, we actually do have 4 strains that they've identified so far that live in our bodies. And they don't do anything, they just kind of hang out. I mean, they might do something, but studies are constantly being done. I mean, there's like 3,200 different strains of parasites. There are about maybe 100 that can live in the human, but the average lab test can only test about 50 to 60. So there's still a lot that we have to learn from these little friends that hang out with us, inside us, or outside us. The exterior parasites are called like ectoparasites. So think of like mosquitoes, fleas, and ticks. The internal ones, most commonly people think of like amoebas and worms. And yeah, so as we dive further, I'll also like to talk about some really sciencey and nerdy stuff about how there are studies being done in worms and how they can actually benefit our health.
I love that.
Cool. Yeah. And yeah, I do have some notes I'm referring to because this is a really packed talk and I love it.
There's so much information.
I know. So think of your gut as like because it has all these different things inside, think of it as Pandora from Avatar. It's a lush oasis. It's beautiful with so many different aspects inside. But at the same time, traditionally in many cultures, your gut is considered the center of your universe. It is the sun in your solar system, and all your organs, all your other organs are planets that surround it. Everything does really begin in the gut. Your gut makes 70 to 90% of serotonin, which is your feel good hormone. Serotonin is very important. Not only does it make you feel good, it's also a precursor to melatonin, which helps promote really restful sleep. Cool. Do we have any questions at this time before we start diving in deeper? Exactly.
Parasitos.
I love it. Yeah, and before we get started, I do want to talk about. So we're going to jump into your experience, Kelly, with parasites, but right now I do want to go through some basic symptoms you may notice if you possibly have parasites. So the most common one is you may recognize anal itching, especially when you're asleep, because there's a specific species of worm, I believe we narrowed it down to pinworms last time, that
Pinworm.
crawl out your butt and lay eggs there. So if you notice itchiness, please, please, please go see a doctor. And if you notice any like tiredness as well, um, recently developed food or environmental allergies, crazy appetite, especially, that's how vets usually identify worms or any infections in dogs. Any weird bowel movements, also worms actually in your bowels, and just any like general. If you feel like something's eating away at your stomach, it's a feeling, like people can feel it. Definitely see a
Yeah.
doctor. I have a
Yeah.
guest.
Yeah, my friend has parasites right now, and she just told me that at night
Yeah,
it gets stronger, you know, and
yeah,
she starts to feel sick. She starts to feel like she wants to vomit. She can't sleep well. And she asked
yeah,
me a couple days ago, she's like, "What's happening? Why is this happening at night?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's kind of when they activate. And they also
yep.
activate with the full moon, right?"
They do. It's crazy. Like, it can't really be explained. I mean, more and more science is going into it. Like, recently, we're just all starting to accept that, hey, periods sync with moon cycles.
Yeah.
Yes, but yeah, definitely with the full moon, they can come out to play more.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I heard before because like you can do the cleanse and then you have symptoms again in the full moon and you're like, "What? What
Yeah,
happened?"
exactly. You're like, what's going on? So, without further ado, please share your experience with parasites with all
Wow, okay, so where do I
of us.
begin? Um, so I came to Peru like 3 years ago,
Hmm.
and I was living in the capital city, which was like already a huge issue for me because I had never lived
Hmm.
in a big city.
Hmm.
And so, the water is different, like the density of the water is different here. So that's one thing that normally people from other countries have to get used to. But on top of that, like I just felt horrible for like a month, and I was like, I don't know what's happening, you know? And I had all the symptoms of parasites, but I didn't really know that they were parasites. And I think like the Western mindset that I think I still had with
Hmm.
these things was like didn't even think about that as a possibility. And if someone and no one really mentioned it to me either, because I didn't really
Hmm.
tell anyone about these symptoms. I just thought like maybe I have a stomach issue or something, the food, like I wasn't really sure, you know? And so then it passed at some point. I don't even know what happened. It just kind of went away.
Hmm.
But I still had symptoms like throughout that year. I just didn't know what they were.
Hmm.
And then the quarantine came, so that didn't really help. And then I left Peru. Then I didn't have any issues like this again. And then I came back, and about, I would say a year ago, I had like a really bad parasitic infection.
Hmm.
And I was just starting to think, I'm pretty sure this is Giardia, you know, I'm pretty sure this is what I have.
Yeah.
And so I started talking with people. They told me about some plants that I could use. They told me to
Hmm.
like eat raw garlic in the morning, you know, like do the whole thing, like go all in with it. And so I did, and I felt really good. Like after a few days, it really started to calm down.
Hmm.
But I remember that I went into this state of fear of like, oh my God, there are worms living inside me. Like, what do you mean? That can't be possible. It was kind of like this really freaky thing for me. And then I started to think about it, and I was like, in the US, no one ever talked to me about
Yeah.
parasites when I was a kid. And I started researching it, and like loads of people in the US have parasites and have
Yeah.
actually developed more chronic infections. But since the medical system doesn't really prioritize gut health, parasites kind of like aren't really a question, because
Yeah.
I guess like the medical system make a lot of money building parasite cleanses because I think it's like such
Yeah.
a great way to keep our bodies in balance.
Yep. Oh, we may have. Okay, your camera is loading.
So I started like just going really deep of investigation. I was like, wow, it's so normal to
Hmm.
do parasite. It is? Oh no.
Yeah, I can see you. There was just like some lag. I'm not sure. Sometimes that happens.
Hello, hello.
Yeah, you're good.
Do you see
You're good.
me?
Yeah. Yep, I see you.
Oh, okay. So some. Okay, okay, good, good. So someone asked, which of the parasites is better, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can post it up, but there is an
Do you see
article
me?
online that just says there's four specific parasites that, yeah, I see you. That are four specific parasites. I don't know the name off the top of my head. Give me 1 second while I pull it up. We did a lot of research going into this. So oh my God, there's just a wealth of information coming from us. Okay, so there's actually more. There's 7 known species of parasites. None of these cause any diseases. If you'd like, I can get this information forwarded to you, but they are mainly there's 4 strains of entamoeba, there's 1 strain of endolimax, there's 1 strain of chylomastix, and there's 1 strain of eotamoeba. So these ones are mostly the little ones, the single cell or double cell ones, and not the worms. So far, like studies with worms are still being done specifically to celiac. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but in the case of your gut flora, if there's too much of one thing or too little of one thing, it causes an imbalance because our gut is a beautiful, delicate balance of all the microorganisms that live inside. If there's an imbalance, like a great one, that tends to lead to noticeable symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
Good question.
Yeah, yeah. I think that this topic is just really important. I'm so happy we're talking about it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and the
Any
reason
other
why personally I think it's not as,
questions? That
yeah,
was
no worries. Yeah, so one of the reasons I think parasites aren't as talked about, like when we were doing research, I looked through 3 textbooks and there was nothing about it. But it's
yeah.
because we think that, hey, our water is so filtered, like we live in such a clean area. Because the places that I've personally lived in, like the big cities in North America, yeah, like everything is top tier, top notch. The water filtration systems, the agricultural practices, it's designed to not have anything left on it, like no bacteria, no living organisms within the system. So that's one of the reasons why I think that's why parasites aren't as common of a topic to explore in North America specifically, just because it's just not common in general. But then you look at what happened in Flint, Michigan with their water, and it's like,
Yeah, and okay, so I have one thing that I want to say about this, and then I want to respond to someone's
yeah, for
question.
sure.
So, yeah, another thing I think is really big is that a lot of people don't have a lot of energy, like they feel sluggish, they
Hmm.
feel slow, or they have like all kinds of different mental health issues happening. And there have been a lot of studies between having parasite overgrowth and having mental health issues. And so I think that this is just like a topic that's just something that needs to be talked about more in the US. Like it
Definitely.
just needs to be something that's like, hey, if you really want to go into this whole like health, fitness, I take care of myself vibe, like parasites are a huge part of that.
Yeah,
Like, is your gut actually clean? Like, are you actually receiving all the nutrients that you need to
exactly.
receive? Because so many
Yeah.
people take supplements in order to have more energy. But I realized that, like, when I do a parasite cleanse, even if it's just like papaya seeds or garlic or whatever, like something small, I feel
Hmm.
a boost in my energy. I feel like something is cleaned out of me, and I'm like, wow, yeah, like I have more energy when I eat. I have just more life force, you know? And so I think that
Yeah.
like in those spaces, and so someone asked, I think like in response to the good parasites, someone asked
Yeah.
where are these parasites found?
In your stomach. All of them are in your intestine, in your intestinal system. Yeah. They already live. Think of them as like happy little campers that live alongside your bacteria and your yeast inside your gut. So they all just hang out together and do stuff.
Everyone's camping together.
Yeah, exactly. They're just camping together. Like we don't exactly know what these beneficial parasites do yet, but one important thing that we know in
Mhm.
general for parasites that do for us as a really big beneficial part is that they trigger a specific type of immune reaction. So in a sense, whenever we get any sort of parasites, they are training our immune system to be able to deal with them. In the same way that vaccines work, where you're exposed to this virus and your body just like all hands on deck, all soldiers on board. Let's get this party started. Let's figure out what we do. Let's launch this system. Let's launch this other system. Like that kind of situation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how long would you say your timeline was from when you started feeling gross and then seeking treatment and then actually like feeling how you feel today?
I would say about a week normally, like anywhere from 3 days to a week, I would start noticing
Mm-hmm.
improvement. And I would be like, wow, this
Mm-hmm.
was that easy. I just did a parasite cleanse actually a few months ago with this like packet of seeds that I bought. Um, a person who doesn't clean themselves is like a house that
Yeah.
isn't swept.
Yeah.
And so I did this and I felt like, wow, okay, everything just left my body. I just felt like all the gunk,
Yeah.
chow. And every time I do that, I just feel like, there's just more space in my body. I feel
Yeah.
lighter. I feel like, from the food I eat, I feel more energized. And yeah, I feel just brighter.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, from an energetic perspective, it's like when you have parasites, there are things eating away your energy, not just physically because they're absorbing all the minerals and nutrients that you're supposed to be absorbing, but it just feels like there's something eating at you bit by bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like again, your gut is the sun of your universe. It's also a digestive fire. And think of a parasite overgrowth as in like things that are interrupting the fire or just too much ash. When the fire is burning, too much ash from the wood, and then so the fire is having trouble continuing to thrive to burn.
Mhm.
That's how I personally like to see it. I'm a very visual person.
Me too.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that
Cool.
analogy. Yeah.
I know. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with parasites, yes, most of them in the form of an imbalance will cause an infection in conditions and diseases such as like Giardia, amongst other things.
Hmm.
And it is, again, once really important to bring to awareness, especially if you like to travel in different regions. You just want to be able to prevent and just prepare your body. Honestly, 80% of adults have had some sort of like parasite imbalance before. This is a study
Hmm.
done, also available to be cited off the CDC website. But most of us, like, why can we just fight it off? It's because we already innately have that line of defense in our bodies, our immune system, to be like, hey, it's time to go. Like, it's time to go,
Hmm.
leave. Like, we're good. We have enough of you here. Like, thanks, bye. Yeah.
Love that.
It is
Yeah.
really like that. Like it's a balance for sure. You don't want to just wipe out everything. That's how antibiotics usually work. They wipe out everything. They wipe out the good, the bad, the neutral. They're like bye. Like think of it as like a tsunami, just sweeping away and flooding everything out. And so that's why it's really important when you're taking antibiotics to also take probiotics.
Right.
I'm not sure with antiparasitics because I do know antibiotics are recommended for parasite infections sometimes. And yeah, like you said, doing cleanses is really good because yeah, you're training your immune system, training your body. Like, what can I keep? What can I go like? What brings me joy? Like Marie Kondo style. Like, what sparks my joy? What sparks my stomach fire? What stuff? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And how often do you do gut cleanses now for your parasites?
So I'm trying to do them like every 3 to 4 months,
Yeah,
something like that. And it's been going really well. Like I feel, yeah, I haven't had a parasitic infection ever since I've kind of been more routine with it.
yeah,
And I feel just a lot more energy. body. Yeah.
For sure,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I had my friend. I mean, my friend actually kind of inspired me because she just had them last week, and she was, "What do I do? Like, do I take a pill? What? How do I get over this? This is horrible. I'm vomiting. I can't sleep. Like, all of the
Yeah.
different symptoms." And I told her, I'm like, this is why it's important to do parasite cleanses. Like, she's
Yeah.
from Europe, you know, so she's like, oh, I don't need to do that because it's cold here, you know. But I'm like, you do. We all need to do it just to make sure that our bodies are in balance. Like, even if you don't have an overgrowth, I don't think that doing a cleanse will do any harm, you know, like a natural
Yeah.
cleanse. And
Exactly,
so
especially
I
with
think
all
that
the
it's just
nice
a
food
great habit.
ingredients. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, with that being said, like where you live, your exterior environment also needs to be in sync with your interior environment. So by being able to get in touch with the food in your area and the herbs in your area to help support your internal, you're being more in sync and connected to nature, to your exterior environment. And that's when everything can really flow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then you'll gradually notice, like, hey, I'm not as susceptible to parasitic infections or colds or flus or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yay. Okay, so yeah, we went over considering cleanses to train your body and your immune system what or when to attack, and also just being able to get used to living in a new region of the world by helping your current gut biome get accustomed to your exterior biome. The next thing I want to talk about is how you personally used food and art and just everything you did to help yourself get into this really nice, delicate balance that we were talking about.
Yeah, okay, I love that. So I think that, wow, I don't know where to begin. I feel like it's
Everything. Tell us
so
everything you
many
did.
different ways to answer this. Um, so I mean, so yeah, I think this is a really good part to talk about the parasites because I was definitely in a place where I was kind of just like OG, like, you know, people wanted to talk to me in the street, I would talk to them.
Hmm.
People wanted to like call me, I would answer the phone, you know, and so I was like really available to everything. And, you know, this was really clear to me when I was living in Lima. I was like, oh my God, I'm just like, I need to close the door and like bolt it shut, you know? So I think like the parasites were kind of just like a physical expression of this as well because I wasn't really making sure like, hey, is my environment clean energetically,
Hmm.
you know? So I think that there's like a really strong relationship with that because I attracted people who were parasitic into
Hmm.
my life, and those people revealed and like made me see things on a deeper level of the different kind of forms of abuse that I experienced as a child. And so I was like, wow, my body is also like everything was happening at the same time. Like emotionally, my body was bad. Like everything was just like, look at me, you need to change, you know? And so I think that's when I started going a lot deeper into art therapy and color flow. Like I had this friend who was also very parasitic, and we were just like seeing the color yellow. And so like yellow is also a color that you can use to expel worms from your body, but it's the color of your solar plexus. It's your confidence, it's your feeling of like, hey, it's me, I'm here, I'm shining, I'm so excited to be here, you know. And so yeah, like I realized that colors also speak to us, like they show up in your life when you need them, and like you just keep seeing it. Like I had someone message me the other day, they're like, why does the color purple follow me? And we started talking about it, you know. And so like at that time yellow was really following me. It's so interesting like how everything's so interconnected. So that's, I think that's a little bit of a
Yeah, no, that
summary.
makes perfect sense. Like my water bottle is blue.
Yeah.
And whenever I see blue, I just automatically think like, oh, it's time to drink water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. I love that relationship with color as well. It's like this color kind of like reminds you to feel a certain way or to do a certain thing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Tell me more about the food that you ate and the herbs that you use to, manage your parasites.
Yeah, so there's one herb. I mean, there are like loads of herbs in the Andes that don't exist anywhere else. So one herb is called pico, and so that's like a really popular herb to use here when you have a parasitic infection. That helped a lot. Basically, any herb that's incredibly bitter normally helps get rid of parasites or kind of helps you to cleanse your
Yep,
body, you know? And so
very
I was
true. Yeah.
taking that. So yeah, that helped me a lot. Also, papaya seeds. I was doing that like,
Hmm.
1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons in the morning. And since I didn't want to chew them because they taste horrible,
They do. They really taste so gross.
and I put like, yeah, they're really astringent. Like they're
Hmm.
just, ugh. So yeah, I would just kind of blend them up and I would like crush garlic and just kind of swallow
Mm.
it like a pill. It's not
Hmm.
happening.
It's,
So
I love
yeah,
raw
those things
garlic,
helped a
so
lot.
it's
Like
just
every
something I
time
do.
I did the garlic specifically, I just felt like something was happening. And since I could feel
Hmm.
it, yeah, it's like loads of different
Hmm.
things. But I remember specifically like taking the garlic and just feeling something drop in
Hmm.
my intestines. I think it cut, no?
Hmm. It, it
Okay.
it did a little
And
bit,
since I
but
could like
I'm not
feel
sure.
the
It just
presence of
happens.
parasites in my body, um,
Hmm.
I could kind of feel how the garlic kind of set them on fire in a way.
Yeah.
Like they weren't happy. Like they were like, ah, she's killing us.
Yeah, I can definitely
But
see
were
that
you able
happen.
to hear what I
Yes, yeah, like
captured?
garlic, how it like lights up the parasites on fire. Kind of like how what people do with like vampires. We just carry raw garlic around and it's supposed to repel the vampires. Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's great. Yeah, there's some sort of lag
I love
happening
that.
today.
Yeah,
I'm
because
not
parasites
sure
kind
what
of
it
like
is.
are vampires. They're taking your
They are, yeah,
life force.
exactly. They like feed on
Wow,
you and
that's really
everything.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's because we're on Wi-Fi. That usually happens.
Is this still
It
lagging or is it normal
it
now?
comes and goes every like 3 to 5 minutes. It's very interesting. Yeah. Maybe there's parasites in the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, yeah, so let's talk more about food and herbs because I
No,
love
that's
talking
it.
about
Don't
food
share
and
this
herbs. Yeah, I'm
information.
like, please don't leave us alone. Anyways, yeah, I love talking about food and herbs because there's things that we can do on a regular basis, which explains to me why most people, when they actually have contact with parasites or salmonella bacteria, they are okay because we eat these foods in our daily diet. So, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
raw garlic is really good. Raw onion is really good too. Both of them are really rich in sulfur, which means sulfur is really good for your immune system and just honing your immune system. Hi. Yeah, so being able to have those, it's really good for not just your gut because it will help with digestion, though sometimes raw garlic people can find to be a little harsh on the gut because it does cause some bloating. So the
Mm-hmm.
trick here that I'd like to offer everyone is if you are preparing garlic and onion, leave it out in the air and the light for 7 minutes before you actually cook it. 7 minutes. That way you activate the allicin and the alanine, which are the active compounds in there that will help your body absorb sulfur and actually utilize these compounds better to serve you, your immune system, and your gut health. Seven
Wow,
minutes.
thank
Seven.
you.
Seven.
Seven.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like everybody's like, what? Yeah, because obviously, like most of the time when you eat fruits and vegetables, you want them raw, but there are little tips and tricks that can help you optimize your absorption of these nutrients.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so on top of that being said, we're at the very fragrant herb rooty kind of situation. We'll also mention ginger. Ginger is packed in vitamin C, which is essential for our immune system to function. one of the strongest antioxidants, and ginger has gingerols that can help with those nauseous feelings you may have during a parasite, like over like parasite. I don't want to say infection, invasion. Let's go with invasion. Like a parasitic
Invasion.
invasion.
I
Invasion,
love
yeah.
it.
Like space invaders, like invasion, yeah.
Yeah.
And then my favorite and Milo's favorite is actually raw pumpkin seeds. So for dogs, I just feed him like a tablespoon of raw pumpkin seeds every day, and he's turning 13 years old this year. Never had any parasites at all. Even if he has never been a problem. And pumpkin seeds contain zinc and vitamin C, which are two supplements I also recommend when you're talking about gut health and immune health. Huge. Love those. Honestly, my life is all about vitamin C and zinc. Um, Recommended dosage or daily amount for pumpkin seeds is a quarter cup. You can have it in your smoothie, you can have it in your salads, you can have it in a wrap, you can have it in yogurt, which is the way I usually do it. But oh my God, I freaking love pumpkin seeds.
Me too.
And then some other options are pomegranates and beets. Yeah, pomegranates and beets, they will actually help you tell your transit time and make it more visible so you can tell, like, hey, my poop is red. That means I last ate pomegranate and beets like X amount of hours ago. And that'll help you recognize and build your own protocol as to like, oh, how am I going to approach this cleanse? How am I going to approach my bowels? And then, like you
Mhm.
said, papaya seeds. And yeah, it's definitely eating them is disgusting. They're so bitter. They're so astringent. I
No.
try to have it with like some honey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, that's actually the study. So for 7 days, they tested children, and they had like this papaya seed smoothie with honey, and
Mhm.
their amount of parasites reduced by 70%. But this study, like, I don't know, I think they have to do more studies about this as well because I think the kids at the same time were also taking laxatives and things like that, so that could also have
Oh,
another
okay.
impact. But
Yeah.
at the very least, papaya seed is definitely something that is really promoted in
Yeah.
the sphere of getting rid of parasites. So
Yeah, it's like a
yeah, I like this
superhero.
because you drink it and you forget about it, and it's like
Yeah,
you don't have to chew them.
exactly. And while you have all of these amazing foods that just naturally are able to fight, or not fight, but balance out parasites and help your body, just work at its optimal level, make sure you're drinking lots and lots of water so that everything can actually flow through and get
Yes.
flushed out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most important part of any sort of like cleanse is to always, always have a lot of water because you will be going to the
Mm-hmm.
bathroom multiple times. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now that we've covered
And
food, let's
another
talk a
thing that I
little
want
bit
to
about
mention really
herbs.
quickly
Like you said, bitters. Mhm.
is just like with oh, it lagged
I know.
again.
Okay, it's like wonky.
I was like,
I think yeah, right now we're talking in real time again.
okay, okay, perfect. So one thing that I just wanted to say really
Mhm.
is so like when you do a cleanse, obviously you're experience the symptoms of like these things leaving your body, especially when it's parasites, especially if you
Yeah,
have a lot of them, you will feel
yeah,
them.
yeah,
You know, kind of like what I mentioned, what happened to me with the garlic. And so I just want to put out there, like, if you actually do this, it's totally normal if you feel like some movement happening in your intestines or kind of like something weird going on, you know? Because they,
yeah,
like any other creature, is fighting for their survival. So, yeah,
yeah,
I think I told my friend that the other day. She was just like, what's
yeah.
so,
They're
yeah.
like, it's so comfortable. I want to stay here forever. But we're like, no, sorry. Like, you turned 18. You
Yeah.
got to move out. Like, you got to move out. We kind of like you here, but we kind of don't at the same time. Like, sorry, you got to leave. You don't really
Yeah.
belong here. Like, you don't belong with all the other happy campers that currently live in my stomach kind of situation.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, like again, their parasites do help us in the terms of like, yeah, it trains our immune system. So yeah, while they may be bad because they can cause diseases, but they are also actively training our immune system to learn how to differentiate and just get stronger and stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about herbs. So bitters, lots and lots of bitters. You mentioned pico, which I had never heard of before you told me.
Me neither. I had never heard of it until it was like really bad. And these people were like, take this plant.
I'm like, here, take it. So yeah, Pico is a really good one. As I did some reading into it, and to my knowledge, it is like an indigenous Peruvian plant.
Hmm.
That's very cool. Yeah. Yeah, when we look at herbs and food, I tend to consult like culture as reference.
Mm.
So for Western herbal medicine, botanical medicine, generally we like to use wormwood because it's super bitter. Oregano, it's pretty bitter too, but not as bitter. Oregano is also very commonly found in like Italian spices as well. So it's one of the really common ones that
Right.
people will use in food. Wormwood is like a specific, wormwood and black walnuts are very specific herbs that one would actually actively seek out when they want to rid the imbalance of parasites in their gut. And
Hmm.
then okubaka bark is actually a parasitic bark itself coming from Africa. So it's more commonly used in homeopathic medicine where you're trying to fight fire with fire, fight like with like. Yeah, so that one's. And then in modern um, herbal medicine personally because I also dive into herbalism. There's golden seal and Oregon grape. Basically, if there's, I consider these ones called nature's antibiotic, but in a good way, as in like it will still try to kill off most things. So you do want to start replenishing as well, which we'll cover next. But golden seal and Oregon grape are very yellow because they contain something called berberine. Berberine is nature's antimicrobial. It's not only good for parasitic overgrowth, but it's also really good for SIBO, which is called small intestine bacterial overgrowth. It can also be good in cases of candida overgrowth, which is like yeast,
Right.
yeast overgrowth, and just any sort of like imbalance in the living organisms in your gut. You'd want to turn into golden seal and Oregon grape. Yeah. Anything you'd like to add on to any herbs that you found? Oh, also for Eastern medicine, burdock. Burdock is really good. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I've seen a lot of these ones.
Yeah.
The other herbs, honestly, are all names in Quechua, so I really don't know. But they work. So if you come to Peru and you have parasites, know that there are a lot of herbs that you can use.
Yeah. It just
Um,
proves that like they knew what they were doing back then.
right.
Otherwise,
Yeah,
we
and it's
would
like
not be
totally
here alive
normal.
today. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like they knew
Yeah, and that
exactly
collecting
what they were
parasites,
doing.
yeah, they knew what they were doing, and it was something that was important to them, like to
Hmm.
really be clean and to make sure that plant medicine to clean their bodies. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly. I do see
okay,
we have a
so someone
question.
just asked, feel like parasites in the environment. Hmm.
Yeah, like example, if you're eating something, especially I've seen this happen a lot because I love Japanese food. So sashimi, you can actually see worms inside if it's not fresh. Um, in terms of water, no, it's most likely on a microscopic level. But if you have like
Hmm.
a test kit, especially if you travel a lot and go camping a lot in the woods in the wild, bring a test kit with you, and it would be able to tell you whether or not like this water is drinkable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's really important.
yeah. But
Hmm.
otherwise, in terms of like environmental, you can't really see it to the human eye unless it's a worm because those ones are like multicellular. But most of the parasites they are like single cell amoebas. Um, yeah, and being able to like constantly clean and having the use of pesticides and other things in our environment does prevent our bodies from getting parasites. But at the same time, it's like, does that mean our immune system is getting dumber compared to our ancestors? Like sometimes in that case, it may be
Yeah.
true, but yeah. So definitely go by feeling. If you feel like something might be suspicious, don't eat it. If you smell something suspicious, don't eat it. Obviously, if you see something in your salmon wiggling, do not eat it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it is so common with raw fish and meat, and like sometimes you can even see maggots on like meat, and it's just like you don't want to get into that. Yeah, but otherwise, if you for other environmental concerns, like no, you're not going to see it. If it is in your body again, you will feel most of the symptoms worsen at night specifically, like
Mhm.
your butt feeling super itchy.
Good times.
Yeah, like when you notice a dog start bum scooching, you're like, oh no, what's going on?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
things
and
happen.
that was an
Yeah.
interesting point that you brought up the other day. You said like every time I take my dog to the vet, the first thing that they ask me is about my dog's poop. But when I go
Exactly.
to the
Yeah.
doctor, no one ever asks me about that, you
They
know?
don't.
Yeah, it is strange. Like I think it's such where you're at in your body.
Yeah, I know. Like your poop, as I discussed yesterday, is like it's a direct reflection of you. You're producing it. So if you see worms in there, you're like, oh shit, something's up. Like I gotta start doing this. And then hopefully pick up some habits that you can start incorporating into your daily life, like eating raw garlic, raw onions, and pumpkin seeds. Not so much the papaya, because oh my God, to make papaya seeds a daily thing, I don't think I'd be able to.
Just blend them and then you just drink
Maybe
them like a cough
occasionally.
syrup and then you forget about the whole thing.
The nice thing is like papaya seeds kind of look like caviar. So there was like a prank going on where people were pranking their significant other saying this is caviar and it was just papaya seeds. Oh my. But yeah, it's
Ew,
super bitter.
no.
Yeah, because it's super bitter, it can actually help with digestion too, because it'll stimulate bile production from your liver and gallbladder. But yeah, papaya seeds, A plus. Any other herbs
Mhm.
you'd like to add on to this?
Hmm. Any other herbs? I don't know. Oh, well, this isn't really an herb, but it's something that is super, super effective.
Mhm.
It's called pine resin. And so I have
Yeah.
this like little tincture that's pure pine resin. And you basically like you take it for 4 days and you increment
Hmm.
the amount of drops that you take. So like the
Hmm.
first day you take 12, then you take 24, 36, 40.
Hmm.
And then 1 week after, I think you take 48 again, something like that.
Hmm. Okay.
Because the parasites they can lay eggs, you know, so you have to
Yeah.
do it again like the following week.
Yeah.
And this is actually really awesome. Like if you just want something simple, you just take it, you put it in your water, you drink it. It doesn't taste amazing, but it doesn't really taste really bad, you know. So yeah, it tastes like
Yeah.
pine, you
No,
know. It
definitely. I
has
agree.
like this pine.
It yeah. Pine's not necessarily a bad thing. It might just remind you of like a Christmas tree. Like if you were to eat a Christmas tree, how would that taste? Oh God.
Right? Yeah.
I just like imagine I'm like, it wouldn't taste bad, but it wouldn't taste good either. Exactly like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so someone just asked, are there good parasites inside of the human body?
Yeah. So like I mentioned before, there are like 7 strains. Let me just turn my phone here so I can show
Ooh.
you. Ta-da! So
Yum.
single-cell parasites commonly found in the intestinal tract, but never associated with any sort of illness. They currently do not harm the body, even in people with weak immune systems. Symptomatic people who are found to have these protozoa in their stool should be examined for other causes of their symptoms. Yum, yeah, yum. Like, again, we don't know much. Like, we're still learning because, again, there's like 3,200 different forms of, like, different species of parasites, per se. So yeah, we don't really know what else they do. But it gives you a nice segue into like talking about a current trial and studies that are being done. So the Australian government actually just gave a department $800,000 worth in grants because they're researching hookworms and celiac. So the theory is that when you inject hookworm larvae, please don't try this at home, by the way. Please don't try this at home.
Do
So
not.
celiac is a disease where people can't digest gluten. The cilia inside your gut is just like no, and then they start attacking each other, and that causes so much inflammation. So hookworm larvae, something about a protein that they produce. So the study is they inject hookworm larvae into I think like 10 participants. It's a fairly small group to begin with, and they start just giving more and more gluten to this group of people with celiac. And by the end of the study, which I think it was like 3 months or so, they were able to eat a medium-sized bowl of pasta. There's
Wow.
something about hookworms that is helping people with celiac disease eat pasta, eat gluten. And I would love to share the studies with you if you want to know. Just like shoot me a message or shoot Kelly a message. So that's one way that parasites can actually be really beneficial for us. On top of, yeah, they like simulate inflammation signals and systems in our body. It's like, wow, it could actually do this. So researchers are now looking to isolate whatever it is that's helping them be able to eat gluten and hopefully provide it in the form of a pill because hookworms and other worms, obviously, they are so unpredictable because they're living organisms like us. We can't control them,
Yeah.
just like how we can't really like control our children. Yeah, so obviously, like in a controlled environment, they can do this, and but it is safer to just isolate that protein or whatever it is from the parasites to be able to take this so that people with celiac can start enjoying gluten again because they do feel like they're missing out. Like, I love cake. I'm sure they do too.
Of course.
Yeah,
Who doesn't? So
exactly.
someone just asked, how can we combat basically bad parasites? Like I, I'm just interpreting this question as like parasite that can mutate or like the next version of parasites.
Hmm.
Like I don't know if that's really a
Yeah,
thing.
so
I'm not
in
sure.
that sense,
Like
okay, I'll
mutating
try
parasites.
I'll try my best to answer that because I'm not too familiar with how it can mutate, but everything can mutate as well as we've noticed with the recent COVID virus. There were so many different strains of it. The best
Mhm.
thing for you to do, honestly, is take care of your terrain and take care of your body, take care of your gut health and your immune health. There are some people that, have gone through the entire pandemic despite not being vaccinated to never have had COVID. And I find myself constantly asking, like, why? Like you mentioned before, Kelly, like you're one of the people that just never got it. And I ask myself, like,
Yeah.
why? Like, what is it that you're doing that's literally making you superhuman and immune to this? And it has to do with your terrain. It has to do with your body. That's what I like to believe. Yeah, yeah, the next version. Exactly. Yeah. So if you want to prevent things from mutating, the best prevention is cure. I mean, the best cure is prevention
Yeah,
from where I
for
stand.
sure.
Yeah. So going back to eating lots of raw garlic in your diet, raw onion, ginger, papaya seeds if you really want to get really intense with it. Yeah, pumpkin seeds, lots and lots of water. And should
Yeah.
it ever get really bad that you seek immediate medical attention because you're like, oh my God, something's eating a hole through my gut, because that does happen. Please go seek your medical professional. They will know what to do for you, and then you can work on the maintenance and the prevention afterwards. Um, most
Right.
most of the time, the medical system and the conventional doctor will just prescribe usually a combination of antiparasitics and antibiotic pills. So to be able to reach that balance in your stomach and in your body again, I personally recommend taking probiotics, and there are specific strains of bacteria that can benefit in cases of parasite overgrowth and also antibiotic use. And the strains are like Lactobacillus acidophilus, the most common one you can find in any probiotic strain, Lactobacillus plantarum, Saccharomyces boulardii, which is actually really good for traveler's diarrhea. So if you're ever traveling and you're worried about it, please, please go find some Saccharomyces boulardii. It is amazing, specifically for foreign bodies that enter your body. Saccharomyces boulardii is the strain that you want to look for. And all of the bifidobacteria strains also work to help maintain like the order in your gut. Think of them as like little police officers or little peace officers that just patrol around and they're like, yeah, we want to keep this, but we don't want to keep that. And then
Right.
on top of that, yeah, just regularly consuming foods that contain a lot of vitamin C and zinc, like again, pumpkin seeds and garlic, ginger, onion. Yeah, all about
Lemon
starting with yourself, and
is
then you can
good.
basically conquer anything. Lemon for vitamin C, 100%. Yeah, and actually adding citrus to your proteins helps break down the proteins and tenderize them. That's why people like to use like orange juice, lemon juice, pineapple juice. Pineapple. Yeah.
Pineapple,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Which leads us to the next thing that we're going to talk about, which is where you come in and you and your magic with art and colors. You previously mentioned yellow light, so please tell us more.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so this is actually really interesting. So color therapy actually comes from something called heliotherapy, which is, a therapy from the sun. So, like in ancient Egypt, for example, they would actually build temples where they could maximize like sunlight that would hit the human body. And they would do this as a way to kill loads of different kinds of bacteria, try to help as like a complementary therapy for different sorts of infections, illnesses, and also any sort of like skin parasites that people could have.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
so then from that space, that's actually where color therapy was born, because at some point someone was like, hey, I want stained glass, you know? And so then people started
I
making
love stained
spaces with
glass.
stained glass where the sun hits. Yeah, it's beautiful. And so people were like, let's maximize this. And in the UK, I'm not sure exactly what time frame it was, but there was a doctor who, it was a certain light that people could buy in their house, like a certain lamp that would help people heal tuberculosis. And so a lot of people were struggling with tuberculosis, and so they were like, wow, how is this possible, you know?
Yeah.
So like light therapy, especially UV light, normally has a strong impact on our skin. So like
Mhm.
anything that can really affect the skin. And then yeah, color therapy works with different skin problems you can have, but also different internal problems, as well as
Mhm.
different emotional imbalances that you have in your body. So if you're interested in this, there's this book called Let There Be Light, which is like a really awesome summary of like how to cool. This guy, this guy is so awesome. He was this Indian guy who came to the US, and he was like so in he created his own system called spectrochrome therapy.
Mhm.
His government took him to court so many times, because what he was really advocating for was for color therapy to be a complementary therapy that everyone has access to in their homes,
Yeah.
literally by just like taking 100 watt, having
Mhm.
these like they're like the theater filters of colors.
Mhm.
So you create a projector basically. Like this is like the cheapest thing that you can do. Like you take like a cardboard box, you make a projector, you take 100 watt light bulb, and you put it in your house, and then you direct that light onto certain parts of your body. He's super advocated
That's
for and
super
had like
cool.
loads of case
Yeah.
studies, loads of success. And yeah, that was his dream, you know? And so I'm hoping that like as time goes on and people really take more awareness and more desire to take care of their bodies, not just on a
Yeah.
physical level, but also seeing how that's energetic and how that's emotional, that color
Yeah.
therapy will be popular again, you know, because it's really powerful.
It
And
is.
it's something that everyone can have access to. You can like just set it up in your house, you know, and then yourself in
Yeah.
orange light, you know?
Definitely, I agree. And you mentioned it was like yellow light, right? For worms and anything gut
Yeah.
related specifically. Yeah, because it corresponds perfectly with the seven chakras and the solar plexus. Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm wearing
exactly.
yellow
Like,
today.
yeah.
Yeah, and yellow foods will help with that too. Think like lemons, pineapples, like yeah, yellow. And
And
I
turmeric is,
love what you touched on. Turmeric, yes. Turmeric is freaking amazing. Turmeric is so anti-inflammatory. There are studies being done for it to be very effective for chronic pain. Nature's
awesome.
painkiller. Yeah. Yeah, so touching on light therapy, it's actually more and more accessible to us now too with the addition of smart light bulbs, which I do have set up in my room. So sometimes if I feel green, I'll just put on green. If I feel blue, I'll just put on blue. So it is a really good way to be able to bring that color to your life. And for myself personally, because I play video games, my computer fans are all different colors every time. Like if you want to take a look at my mouse, it does cycle through like white, blue, and purple,
Wow.
or just pulses white. Yeah, and then the keyboard as well just kind of goes through different colors. So there are many different ways you can use
Ooh.
color and incorporate color therapy into your life. And that's where you come in. So if anybody has any questions on what color to set up more in whatever current state they are in their life, what help they need, please, please, please go to Kelly. Her colors are truly unconditional.
Aw, thank you.
Yeah.
Aw,
Does
I
anybody have
love
any
that.
more questions as we wrap up in the next 5 minutes? I mean, if you do have any questions, please feel free to send me a message or send Kelly a message. We are here to help. I am like just so happy that all of you were able to join us today, learn more about parasites, gut health, immune health, and just everything.
Yeah, it's been so much fun. Chanel is seriously like she's just full of information that's practical. So like please, if you're so curious about your body and your health, what to eat, how to eat, talk to her, please.
Yeah,
I
talk to
love I
both of
love how
us.
you
We
share
do a lot of
information.
fun things.
People practice.
Yeah, I know. I feel like nutrition
Oh,
isn't something
thank
that
you
you have to
so
be like
much.
a super athlete, to hire a nutritionist. Like, no, just you can just be a person and hire a nutritionist. Because, like, what's the harm in that? Like, for all I know, you are an athlete. You have the Olympic gold in like sleeping.
Right.
Exactly. Like, everybody deep down is some sort of athlete that excels at something that deserves a gold medal. Very, very well deserves a gold medal for just something
Wow,
that they do. Yeah.
that's
So to be able
beautiful.
to perform and get that energy, definitely like work with someone for sure. Because sometimes it can feel super
Yeah,
overwhelming when you're like, oh my God, where the hell do I start? How the hell do I start? Someone's telling me that I should eat more broccoli, but this person's telling me that broccoli causes gas. Like, what do I do? Yeah. Look
right.
for
And then it's
holistic
like
health
who
professionals.
holds you accountable as well.
Exactly, for sure. Yeah, and like I'm sure you as well, but both of us just we also get coached on a regular basis on top of coaching other people because it's all about the accountability, the education, the passing on and everything. So it's a really beautiful relationship to have when you start working with a coach or a teacher or anything of the sort.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. And like last time when Tuesday when we got together to actually talk about what we're gonna talk about this talk, we were on the phone for like 5 hours. That's
It was
probably gonna happen
amazing.
again, and that's totally fine. So
Definitely.
if you have any other topics you'd like to learn more about on the holistic nutrition side and how it complements art therapy, feel free to let us know. Like you could say, "Oh,
Yeah,
I want to learn more about asthma and eczema." Then yeah, like we're there. We'll create the content to serve you to whatever you want to learn about.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be so much fun. We should do a series on that actually.
definitely. There's just always because we're talking about health in your body. There's like endless well of information that we just keep talking and talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time and your courage,
Thank
Kelly, and
you
sharing
so
your
much.
experience. It's been super fun doing this with you.
Hmm.
Yeah, and truly grateful for everybody who like hopped in to join to listen to us riff about parasites and gut health. It's I love
Yeah.
doing this.
Yeah, thank you for the awesome questions as well. That was really
Yeah, I know the
great.
questions were amazing.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, without further ado, we're gonna end today's broadcast, and we hope to see everybody around soon.
Thank you all so much. Thank you,
Yeah, thanks
Chanel.
everybody. Bye.